Hello, listening audience again. My name is Templeton Sawyer, and welcome back to the Neighborhood Conversations, where we invite inclusive individuals, leaders, community leaders back into a conversation that's helping to inspire you. I'm so happy to be in your neighborhood, in your car this morning, where whenever you're going to listen to this podcast, it's a privilege to be in your presence. Today, we're going to be we have the amazing Sylvia Parris-Drummond, CEO of the Delmore Daye Learning Institute, which is an amazing Afrocentric institute here in Nova Scotia, Halifax, Nova Scotia. And Sylvia is one of leaders who I respect and value in community. And we're so happy to have her here to talk about the Delmore Daye Learning Institute and also to share about um, who she is and how she got all this inspiration because um, it starts with who has inspired you. And so we're so happy to have a conversation with her. Sylvia, welcome to the Neighborhood Conversations. How are you?
I'm fine, Templeton. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. And thanks for this initiative. I love this idea of neighborhood conversations. It feels very community, right?
Yeah,
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 it feels
yeah.
very connected. So thank you for that.
No problem. We're really happy to bring this out. This podcast started last year, June, launched last year, June. And so it's a Nova Scotia Works podcast, and we're so excited to bring it into communities and speak with leaders like yourself. So I want to start with like the first question. Who is Sylvia? Talk about Sylvia a little bit. I think that that's a whole different way of connecting with who you are and talk about a little bit about your roots, which is really important. Yeah, go ahead.
hmm Yeah, it almost feels like this thing about, how do you enter into these spaces? And so,
Yeah.
so for folks, in terms of how I enter in with a recognition that I come from rooted times here in Nova Scotia. So I'm proud to identify as Black African Nova Scotian woman, mother, sister, auntie, friend, kind of in all those spaces, centered around community, and really valuing the community and the caring that community does, um, has done and does do for me. Um, from a large family, I think I can say that in numbers.
Definitely.
There's 15 children, up to one of those 15 in it. Here, Guysborough County, Mulgrave, particularly, is a place where I grew up. So yeah, so I feel like for the me, the who, it's hard. It's um, not an individual who, so I could say it that
Yeah,
way. And I think
yeah,
lots of us
yeah,
in community understand that way, that we walk in a collective way with folks. And so, yeah, and I bring all that energy in here. And
yeah,
so I'm thinking, we have this conversation that the voices of those who were influencers, my parents, of course, my mom, community elders, youth that have
hmm
had the chance to be engaged with, grandbabies now who can teach you a
yeah,
lot. So
yeah,
yeah, hopefully
yeah,
all
yeah.
those voices will echo out.
And that's wow, that's so important. And I totally agree that you're representing other voices within your family tree and others that has paved the way for you to be in this moment. And so thank you so much for sharing that, Sylvia. You're the Chief
Mhm.
Executive Officer of the Delmore Day Learning Institute. And for some, I would love for you to share what the organization is about so that listening audience can know. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, so the Delmore Buddy Day Learning Institute, DBDLI, we just recently celebrated 10 years of being here.
Woohoo!
Right, it's amazing, and again, the acknowledgement about, it was community that situated us here. We consider ourselves to be this grass-rooted community organization that has a structure that allows us to reach out across the province, and to do the things that our the people that founded us have been
Mm,
asking us to do. And so we hope that is showing up very clearly. So we're all things Afrocentric. And in terms of how that shows up for us, there is Afrocentric research. The important component of that is community voices, participatory action research. Coming at things from a strength-based approach. So when we are working with community, working with segments of community, be that youth, elders, children in the public school system. We all come from a strengths based approach, right? And
Right.
so when we're working with folks, we're helping build their capacity, right?
Yeah.
When we're working with folks, we're understanding that this idea about learning happens in many places. It's formal and it's informal. That the voices that people have is important. So we also have a spot where we do education experiences again
Wow.
within the public school system, within the community, and we seek to present and develop resources. So publication, books, learning through electronic ways, utilization of Zoom.
Yes.
Everybody's
Yes.
learned Zoom,
Oh yeah.
but we have an e-learning platforms where courses can be delivered. So yeah, so Delmore Buddy Day is a place for the issues that have been long-standing and contemporary concerns to be addressed in education in the broadest sense.
Wow, that's really good. Learning and development is really important. I'm so happy
Mhm.
that you all are in the public school system, educating and being a part of that learning experience for them, so that when they share with their future children, they
Mm.
know the history and they know the
Mhm.
conversations and talk about the books. I mean,
Mhm.
like I know that there are some books that are really handy for people to like get like I know there's the Viola Desmond book.
Mm-hmm,
Share
mm-hmm,
about that. Share a
mm-hmm,
little bit
mm-hmm.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let me build a little bit from that you mentioned. So the ABCs of Viola Desmond is, a resource that is in the public school system, used in grade 3 to assist with learning in terms of reading. And that is an example of a resource that came out of a project that we're very proud of, a program that we're very proud of, a flagship program, I guess some might call it, our African Nova Scotian History Challenges. The African Nova Scotian History Challenges is a way for all participants, whether they do it as groups or individuals, to learn and to grow their knowledge about African Nova Scotian history, heritage,
Right.
culture, and contributions. And so we just actually closed the receiving of applications
Right.
on February 22nd. And so now we'll be looking at them and beginning our adjudication process. But it is an exciting thing. Our building here,
Wow.
if folks had a chance to come see it, we have all kinds of submissions that have come in. We also have submissions that have come in virtually. So yeah, so that is something that has immediate benefit because people research and find out the information they need to know. Teachers are generous in terms of working with the students and learning themselves when they think they need to learn and sharing that learning, but creating spaces for innovative ways of telling the stories
Yeah.
of our community to be shared out there. And our publications that are currently a very strong community connection. We have a textbook
Right.
in the public school system, which we're
Wow.
very proud of. But we also are building this series of stories. So the number may change, but right now we've landed on 52 historical
Wow.
African Nova Scotian Black
That's
communities.
amazing.
And we
Yeah.
want a publication connected with all 52 of those, and we're
That's really
picking away
cool.
at that. We've got a couple in the that's been developed and some in mind in the work. So yeah, in our website you can find excuse me, you can find those resources as well if you go on there, and as well as see a number of things, Templeton, about what the organization is striving to do. And it's really important to try to be as effective as possible in our
Yeah.
communication.
Hmm.
And we're certainly fine with saying that it's something that we're continuing to try to grow and be better and better at. But we have our social media, we have the website, as I said, and we're developing an e-learning platform. So there's ways that people can come in to see knowledge, but we're also trying to be responsible and finding places to tell that story out so you don't have to go looking for it. So again, I'm
Yeah.
appreciative of this chance for people to continue to learn and hear about Delmore Buddy Day Learning Institute, learn a bit about Mr. Delmore Buddy Day, our
Hmm.
namesake. We just hosted an African Heritage Month event here
Yeah.
on February 21st so that his family could tell the story from their perspective as well as this broader story, which I hope many of us know about his contributions.
Yeah, wow. That's really important. Wow. lots of accessible access to these resources, and I'm happy that we have the opportunity for you to share it here in this platform as well. But it's really good that y'all are presenting history and
Mm-hmm.
presenting volumes and numbers of decades of history. That's really important to share. Really, really good. I know there's a lot of initiatives and project that has been very inspirational for you
Mm-hmm.
to move, that moves you to move forward with what the Delmore Buddy Day does in next levels. What has been your biggest inspiration to continue to be creative, to bring these access of resources and other initiatives to the community from Delmore Buddy Day?
Mm. I'm kind of inspired all the time as I learn something and engage with folks along the way.
Right.
Uh, an approach that has really been important for us and to try to message out is this philosophy of Ubuntu. So I mentioned our 10th
Hmm.
anniversary, and we were
Yeah.
able to have the daughter of Dr. Reverend Desmond Tutu
Hmm.
be our keynote speaker. And she also is Reverend Dr. Tutu, Nimosi
Yeah.
Tutu. And
Yeah.
she told us this wonderful experience about this idea of Ubuntu in human beings, in humanness, right?
Yeah.
And so that is like continuing for us the idea around what we do around Afrocentricity and the centering of community, the centering of voice and the valuing of that. This kind of pillar of Ubuntu and her message delivering that, I think it reinvigorated us, all
Yeah.
of us, right? In
Yeah.
terms of both what can it be like when we work together as a collective? What can it be like when we continue to recognize the strengths that we have and take those forward? So it's really inspiring that we have this collective way of doing, and we're committed to doing that and to trying to model that on how we govern and how we work operationally.
Wow, that's really good. And Ubuntu is a powerful word
Mm-hmm.
of our success is your success. Continuing to bring that togetherness
Mm-hmm.
in sense, and I'm happy that the Delmore Buddy Day is that way of learning. And I sit on the board of directors for this organization,
Mm-hmm.
and I can publicly say that because I support the work that they do, and it's really good that it connects with so many levels of knowledge and the youth involvement and stuff like that, to bring that. It's talking about youth involvement. There's always ways of inspiration, always ways
Mm-hmm.
of yourself being young as well. You're young as well, so like
Young at
could do
heart,
young
okay.
at heart, young at heart, young at heart. Who has been your inspiration? Who has been that elder or someone or people, a group of individuals who has inspired you as you continue to be the chief executive officer of
Mm-hmm.
Delmore Buddy Day, who has been
Yeah,
that inspiration?
yeah.
It could be from the national stage, local stage, whoever. Yeah.
I look forward to my family's security in the future. That's the main goal as a father.
The empowerment from changing careers has really just made me want to get out of bed in the morning.
I'm looking forward to growing my business. So I want to hire people like I was hired. I want to give guys that chance.
Il me fera plaisir de continuer à travailler avec les immigrants francophones en Nouvelle-Écosse.
I'm looking forward to the financial freedom that I never had before.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I feel like there's a real blessing to have folks in in elder recognition roles who that you can look to for advice, and the breadth of those folks is unending.
Hmm.
From a SOV, I think about from the perspective of some of the work that I've been able to be involved in partnership and collaborating in. So, at this national level with Senator Dr. Wanda Thomas Bernard,
Hmm.
with Mikhail Jean, at a provincial level here in terms of folks with that knowledge base around policy and strategy, ways of being, Her Honor Mayanne Francis, right? So these
Hmm.
are folks that I love to hold up and recognize. They demonstrate for us, a humility as they always recognize where they come from and where their roots are, and
Hmm.
their presence
Yeah.
in terms of positional influence and their presence in terms of like structure places to be, up in those big levels in the areas is really important for us. And it's
Right.
important for those of us in positions such as myself, but those of us in general in the community to be able to have those folks to acknowledge and to look to and to know that a path has been created for us. My most kind of valued learning time is, if I come back to heart and local, will be within my family.
Yeah.
My mom had passed away at an early age for her, and when I was young, there was so much learning that I had from her in the
Yeah.
time that we were together. And feel sadness for what I've missed and what my children and her grandchildren would have missed being able to see. But we just need to kind of, as the saying goes, when we're in some spaces, look to your left, look to your right. You see
Right.
a leader sitting beside you. You see an
Right.
inspiration in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Seeing people and seeing inspiration next to you, beside you, forward, backwards, knowing that you have
Mm-hmm.
support, which is really important. That's
Mm-hmm.
so powerful for you to share. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's African Heritage Month, and I know that there's a lot of things going on, but I want to go ask, what does this month mean to you
Mm.
as we celebrate this month? Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard not to talk about the month without acknowledging that we are constrained into a month in terms of the valuing of our contributions in so many ways.
Yeah.
I like to think about the month as an opportunity, kind of in a bookending way.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to launch things, to capitalize on the enhanced resources and materials and folks that are available during that time. But as it's a launch time, we can go through the next 11 months until the next African Heritage Month, and then see what we've accomplished,
Right.
what we have, and then talk about what we have planned. And they don't necessarily have to be tied to the theme of the month, right?
No.
Because substantive change needs to be about policy work. And so, in places where we can influence policy, either by providing access for deep learning, and that can include a critique. It can include these conversations that may not be that comfortable,
Yeah.
but that there's a commitment for us to kind of grow and to learn and to change. And I think so. The recognition in terms of African Heritage Month provincially, and then the recognition of Black History Month nationally, gives us kind of two level ways to engage in thinking about, so what might this change be? How do we hold on to this change?
Right.
And how do we ensure that the voices most impacted are not overburdened with providing the learning, but at the same time are not marginalized or pushed to the perimeters by someone co-opting that knowledge? So
Wow.
there's a balance for the folks who come into this space,
Yeah.
and I think the weight of that is on those who talk about allyship, and or whether they show up like in government spaces or
Right.
in neighborhoods, that they get that balance right. Don't ask someone to do the work that you should do, but don't take credit for somebody else's work that has been done.
Oh, say it again. Say it again. One more time. One more time.
Don't
Don't
ask
ask.
someone to do the work that you should do, and don't take credit when you shouldn't for what someone else has done.
Powerful. That's so powerful. Sylvia, you know that this is so times changing, and I totally agree with you. It's just a month that symbolize of highlighting, but should be educating continuously through more months, and other changes should be done. Policies should be amended. Actions should be created, not just within this month, but also after this in that regards. What are some of the current events that has been happening? I know that you said that Delmore, but today history sharing has been hosted. What are some other events that has been hosted this month to highlight this month in particular? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've been out across the province in the regional centers for education,
Yeah.
doing education opportunities. Our staff have been out hosting events that centered youth voices. So we've
Yeah.
had our summits, our ancestral root summits. We've been able to have those. As I said, we're in the schools working with teachers. And we will be launching what we're calling an African Nova Scotian community series. So we'll be hosting events that will look at cultural learning, that will look at elder focus in terms of conversations, that will look at kind of whatever the community says in the next series we'd like this to be hosted. So we're going to launch that conversation next week and start that hearing. So, and we've done collaborations with organizations, post-secondary organizations, with the Black Cultural Center around some pieces. So it's really about using that space again, using our physical space, which I hope folks know, but is here that is accessible for a community, but also leading kind of our opportunity for leading space to focus on the conversations that need to happen around what do you know accurately about, the history and the culture here and the longevity of folks here? And what do you know about contemporary stories that are here as well?
Wow, that is so good. So good that there's a lot of awareness, and I've been seeing so much that's been happening on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, of sharing the work that you do and in the events that's been happening this month. So that's really good.
Promote
Go ahead.
promote a book and stuff?
Go ahead.
I hope that folks have seen, we're talking about launches. So the ABCs of North Preston, right?
Wow.
And so when I've been talking about community voice stories, this is kind of another way of it. This was written and illustrated by students from Nelson Winder School in North Preston. And it's been wonderful to see the process that they went through in terms of, making decisions about, because there's so many wonderful things in the community to talk about, making decisions about what would we profile in an ABC's book. We've only got from A to Z. What can we profile? And how do we do that? How do we illustrate it? So it was a fabulous experience. So that is, out there now. And as I said, we have already some community voice stories out. The most recent one prior to the ABCs prior to the ABCs of North Preston, we had a child of East Preston by Senator Dr. Wanda Thomas Bernard. And in what's common in these stories, again, you'll hear me say voice, community voice all the time in terms of centering.
Which is important,
and it's an opportunity to tell the positives, right? That aren't created. They really exist. We just need to allow those stories to be told.
Definitely. Yeah, it's good to share the light, positive of hope. And I know we share a lot of sadness, but it's good to share those hope and those positive lights of those stories. I think we shared something from Delmore by Daye, I think this week. So if you could send me the picture of the book, or you can tag us when you do share us. I think that'll be really good, because we'll definitely share it upon that for sure. It'll be really good. But send me a picture of the book as well, because maybe we could put it in the I'll ask Andrew if we could put it actually in the link. Well, not in the link. After the episode, the book could actually be a picture, because we have video access. And so that's really good. It's always good when we can have leaders like yourself come on, and we always end the podcast with a little hope, a little inspiration to keep us going. What is that quote or saying that you have for us today, sister? As we continue
I do have one
to move forward.
from Maya Angelou, and I'm going to look, and so I make sure I get the wording right. But I love Maya Angelou, and I have a quote from her on my bio profile on the website. I think she's so kind of inspirational in terms of that, right? So, so here's what I want to read from her. It is the belief in a power larger than myself and other than myself, which allows me to venture into the unknown and even the unknowable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so powerful. That's like talking about the unknown, knowing being open and possible to possibilities, and knowing that there's so much open doors for you and so much access to things that you may not be aware of, but it's there. It's just that you have to go out and search out and find it and be there and be open to continue that strength.
Yeah, I think it speaks to
Powerful.
like trust, understanding the impact of the universe. For me, faith.
Yeah.
Faith is
Hmm.
really important in practicing that faith, so it speaks to that for me as well. And I think it speaks from certainly for me, from my family, again, the connection in terms of that kind of commitment around faith.
Right.
But I think it
Hmm.
also speaks to us ancestrally, because we are here in
Yeah.
2023
Yeah.
because of the folks in the 1600s
Right.
who situated us here, right? Who knew that we are not only survivors, but we will thrive. And
Indeed.
so they knew not what was around many corners, but held on to faith in each other, and had this deep appreciation about how we are together, how we support each other, that we have this strength, and a recognition, to pick to the phrase that you said a bit earlier: my success is your success. Our humanities are entwined.
Oh, that's such a great way to end this podcast, Sylvia. You have been so phenomenal with ways of connection, of community, and way of inspiring us to move forward in this way. Thank you so much for coming on to today's episode. We really appreciate you, and we look forward to continuing more conversations in the neighborhood with you and bringing more knowledge. But until then, we really appreciate you for coming on today, and we look forward to more. Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
so much, Templeton. I'm looking forward to hearing the other neighborhood stories too.
Oh,
So
oh,
thank you.
definitely, definitely, definitely. Listening audience, it's a pleasure to be in your ear today, and I hope that this episode has spread a little bit of hope, knowledge, and education for you as you continue to advocate and continue to educate yourself on various ways of Afrocentricity, and also learning about different ways of how you can be a part of allying and advocating and doing more with community work. We look forward to having a good conversation at the next one. Have a great day. This podcast is funded by the Government of Nova Scotia.